Firstly, let's start off by talking about the kind of potential and opportunities that lie ahead in Zambia, and obviously being an architect here in South Africa and being in the industry for such a long time, delving into the likes of Zambia and the rest of the African continent must offer huge potential and huge growth for companies situated in South Africa.
Yes, we've all got to understand that we live in Africa. We must stop thinking of South Africa as a separate continent and that the other continent is strange to us. We live in South Africa, we live in Africa. And the way the whole story started is that one of our partners is from Zambia, and he suggested, actually my son, Dr. Eitan Karol, is the CEO of the firm. They just pay me a salary for working there. Suggested that they should do a trip to Zambia, that the country has become very interesting. And this they did, and a colleague of my partner, Kelly Columba, suggested that there is a competition being run for a project called Society House. Our Society House is basically a 20-story building which had been empty for many, many years due to the fact that about 20 years ago a bank was a tenant in that building. The bank got into trouble, so they decided to burn all their documents. Where better to burn it than on the 10th floor of the building, and of course that created structural damage.
And sir, you've also been, you're actually now very integrated and integral in, of course, redeveloping or bringing back to life a Society House at this point. As you mentioned, a 20-story building, and really working with the people on the ground in Zambia. Tell us about the synergies that you've actually seen coming to the fore, and also the skills transfer that needs to occur, purely because a 20-story building obviously is far more sophisticated than building a 2-story building or even 3-story building, something that is very popular in Zambia at this point.
Yes, we've got to understand that under the socialist rule, Zambia more or less went to sleep. And this project presented a very exciting challenge to us. We set up a design team under one of our partners, Robert Silk, and we first of all drew from the experience of Golden Acre in Cape Town, which we did about 30 years ago, and also Victoria Wharf in the waterfront. And we created similar components of the building. Now, what we've got to understand is that because we slavishly follow the American model, all our cities are being damaged, the viability of the cities are being damaged by all the regional shopping centres, and they are sucking out the juices and the blood of our city centres. And so this was a fantastic opportunity to rejuvenate the city centre. The 20-story building was there. We looked at it and we said, fine, the structural damage has to be repaired. Yeah. But what is the right element to put into the building? Absolutely. We decided on a hotel. We didn't want a 5-star hotel. But because tourism is one of the industries which is becoming very popular in Zambia, we created a Holiday Inn full-service hotel of about 150 rooms. Yeah. So that took care of...
The project's actually worth $100 million, if I'm not mistaken. So also just give us an indication of, given the fact that you've embarked on rejuvenating this building, that you've also now started to work with other construction companies, engineers, and obviously architects in the country to try and ensure that there is intense growth, similar to what we saw in South Africa many decades ago.
Yes, absolutely. And what is important for South Africans is not to go into Zambia with the old colonial attitude of I know best. It is very important to find the right kind of partners in Zambia, and every single discipline has actually partnered with a Zambian partner. Terribly important. The manner in which you go about transferring the skills which we have acquired over many years in South Africa, because South Africa is a very sophisticated country today. The manner in which you do it is very important, that you create a fantastic teamwork, that people work together, and that I must say on this project is working absolutely wonderfully well. And when we were told that we had won the competition. I was also very grateful that a very rigorous examination of the tender was undertaken. There were many presentations. The building is actually for the Zambian Building Society. It's being financed by the Zambian Pension Fund. And because of this thorough investigation of everything, it gave us a clean bill of health, and we could start on the project where construction started a few months ago with a tremendous amount of confidence. You know, the Zambian people are beautifully mannered people. It is a pleasure to be with them. I've attended some of the meetings myself, and it is very easy with the right attitude to create a fantastic team. A team that is constructive in their thoughts, and people are not trying to position themselves, I know more than you, and I'm going to teach you,
If I could also just touch on a point that I know we spoke off air a little earlier, and you were talking about now, in the past it was all about ego buildings, and now it's really about buildings that work for people on the ground. We're starting to see a massive change and shift happening not only in South Africa and in Zambia as well. Give us a few trends that could come to the fore in Zambia, that something will be very specific to the Zambian economy, please.
Well, first of all, and the Society House is a very good example of it, it is a multi-use building. It has a hotel, it has a shopping mall of 8,000 meters, it has a office building, and it has parking for well over 1,000 cars. The needs of corporations have changed. Many years ago in South Africa, everybody wanted a needle. A lot of these needles, in other words, a small floor plate, very high because of ego, because your name up in lights over there. And many of the large corporations have moved away from that. Why? Because the principles of planning have changed. Corporations need open plan offices, and they need large floor spaces. That still sometimes results in a tall building.
Absolutely.
I mean, we are co-architects of Portside in Cape Town, which is 32 stories, but every floor plate is over 3,000 square meters, and that's just because we have a unique site of that size. But generally, and if you even look at Society House, except for the tower which was existing, including the basement, including the parking levels and the offices, it is not taller than 10 to 12 stories.